Hello, and welcome to another episode of How They See Us. My name is Denise Hurd, and I am your host, and I'm so happy to be with you today. For those of you all that don't know, How They See Us is a series where we invite industry leaders and friends of Hurd Strategies to discuss how they navigate public perceptions and challenges within their fields. As we were preparing upcoming topics for future episodes, the Herd took some time to discuss how we wanted to approach the month of June. We really wanted to be intentional about the themes that we selected. And so, what we realized in our conversation is that there are two key topics or components that represent love and joy and connectivity in the month of June. We have Father's Day, and we also have Pride Month. And so this month, we have two really great discussions planned for you. And with Father's Day quickly approaching, we decided that we thought this would be the best way to start our monthly conversations by having a conversation with a couple of cool dads. So in this episode, we're joined by two strong, dedicated, and hardworking fathers that we know. We have Willie Gupton, and backed by popular demand, we've got Christopher Johnson. Willie, Chris, how you all doing?
Great, doing great. How are you?
Doing good, doing good. There you all are. So it's really good to see you both. So,
Great.
Chris, we're gonna reintroduce you in just a minute because the people already know you. But Willie, thank you so much for joining us. I truly appreciate it.
Thank you for having us.
You are welcome. So, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, who you are,
Yeah,
how you came
yeah,
into know the herd?
yeah. My name is Willie Gupton Sr. I'm a husband and I'm a father of three adult children. And I'm a good friend and fraternity brother of Christopher Johnson. And I really love what you're doing at Herd Strategies. And I'm thrilled to be a
Thank
part of it,
you.
especially when it comes to talking about fathers. I am fortunate enough to have a long career in youth development, but presently I serve as the as an administrator at an elementary school right over here on the west side of Indianapolis.
That's awesome. So you're not only a father, you're a father figure, which
Yes.
is so important, so very important. And Chris, why don't you tell us a little about yourself? I know that people know you, but for those that haven't had a chance to meet you, tell us a little bit.
Oh, well, Chris Johnson. Me, I'm a father of four, three girls, one boy. Uh, but in terms of me and Willie Gupton's relationship, we've been knowing each other for quite some time, well over, I say over 35, 37, 38 years, I guess you can say. I work with him in the capacity of, programs, back to school programs, uh, especially when he was over at, Boys and Girls Club and also Municipal Garden back then. And we did a lot of work in terms of community services, in terms of our fraternity. So it kind of helps out quite a bit, being in contact and being in touch with kids on a broader scope. So we've been having that relationship, I think, for a number of years, and it worked, quite well for us. And
Mhm.
still, still today, we still continue to give back, in our organization, fraternal organization, Masonic organization, as well as, him being the teacher and me being a past, teacher myself, in Texas. It kind of helped moving forward, how we navigate
Mhm.
and how we look at kids and I guess nurture our kids in layman's term.
Mhm. Mhm. So basically, you and Willie have known each other since BC, before children. So it's been a
Yeah,
long
yeah, yeah,
time.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that sounds better. Yeah, there you go.
For children, because that tells a really interesting story about your relationship, because you've seen each other come into your role as fathers. And
Yeah,
so, I've got a lot of questions that I have for the two of you all, but I think it's important for our listeners that we
right,
spend a little time just kind of talking about, what does fatherhood mean to you?
Yeah.
Because it means different things to different people.
right,
And
right.
so I would love to get a perception from the two of you all. What does it mean to you? And either of you can jump in and answer that first.
Uh, I guess I would say, for me, um, it's about, instilling core values, in your kids, the same thing that I got, growing up, and, with a mother and a father. And nowadays dynamics are so different. You here I am, single parent, been there, done that. And also, navigating, as a father, just trying to spend quality time with your kids. So I think, me and Willie, in that perspective, we were able to deflect quite a bit because we knew each other's, mom and dads. I knew his family values and centralized family, how they navigated at their home. When we come home from college, he's been, to my parents' house. So we kind of stood on the same type of moral integrity and plateau as well. So that's kind of what I gear towards when it comes down to my kids, is try to instill some of those core values that I got and spend as much time trying to pour into them, whether, I'm being, separate from, their mother over here, I'm over here as their father. I try to navigate and get as much time in as possible, to kind of put my seasoning on what I think, the world looks like and how to shape it. So, that's kind of my narrative of how I look at it as being a father.
I think a
Thank
couple of
you.
words come to mind. You think about sacrifice, you think
Mm,
about love,
mhm,
patience,
mhm.
patience, humility. And, and I think the way those things come into play is when you have an opportunity to reflect on
Mhm,
things that may not have went as well as you thought,
Yeah,
mhm,
or reflecting on things when they did go really well, and
yeah,
then thinking about
mhm,
what you could do differently, because
mhm,
we all want success for our
mhm,
children, and you want to
mhm,
raise them in what you feel is a successful manner.
mhm.
right,
It's
right.
funny you use the word patience because even as an adult, I can think back of the times where I'm sure I tested my father's patience or pushed
Yes.
it to the limit and still
Mhm.
do probably. So yeah, so that was a really good one.
Mhm.
Both of you all, I know you both, and I know you both have grown children, and
Mhm.
so adult children anyway. And so let me ask you something. What was your initial reaction when you found out you were going to be a father?
Mhm. I,
Uh,
I was pleasantly
If you could,
surprised. I
you were
was I
pleasantly
was
surprised.
pleasantly surprised,
yeah,
and
I bet
yeah,
you
I was. I was excited.
You were happy. That's
Yeah.
good. That's
Yeah.
good. Did Chris? How did you feel when you found out you were going to be a
uh,
father?
I, it took me to a different place, but I
Mhm,
think I settled into the role, rather
mhm,
quickly, uh,
mhm,
because I
mhm,
think, once you realize that, you know, that information got brought to you that, hey, you're about to be a dad, you kind of toggle with it for probably a couple hours, maybe 24 hours. But the reality is, how we gonna move forward? So I think as men, we
mhm,
just settle in and bog down. And I had good parents that supported me, that let
mhm,
me know. And believe it or not, she's 36 now. And yeah, you gotta have some patience, I tell you. She wears me thin, but like you said, I mean, it's a life lesson. I think, I reflect on how I was with my parents, but to be honest with you, it was shocking, but tell you it's well worth it. I think it is in the end because you give
mhm,
life. You give life
mhm,
and you get to mold life. So
mhm, mhm.
that's a blessing to me.
That's true. Let me ask you something because there are differences in cultures and how children are raised and and things that they're taught. And so do you think a couple things I want to ask you all, and it's about values.
Mhm.
And so I'd love to know what values you feel are most important to instill in children. But I'd also like to talk about your cultural background and how that influences parenting styles as well.
Yeah. I think
Wow.
from a cultural perspective, and I think about my wonderful parents, is that it was like show and tell. I believe the way that my father was raised by his fathers,
Mhm,
you showed that you cared for your children by providing for them, by providing a roof over their
Right.
head, making
mhm,
sure food's on
mhm,
the table, making sure they're safe, making sure there's discipline when it needs to be disciplined. And then on the
mhm,
other side of that coin was my sweet, dear mother, who was more along the lines of she would tell you how much she loved you, tell you
Hmm.
how much potential that you have and how great you can be. And
Hmm.
I think the influence that that had on me is I tried to take and mold both of those together. I worked really hard to make sure that my children, as well as my wife, felt safe here at home. And I tried to make sure that our children understood that I was their protector and that I'm providing for them. But also, I really put an emphasis on telling them, just like my mom
Hmm.
told me, that you are great, you are wonderful,
Hmm.
you can achieve and
Hmm.
do anything you put your mind to. And I think that's probably what we're missing nowadays is that
Hmm.
making sure that as the parents of children that we are telling them ourselves as much as possible how great they are and how much they can achieve.
Hmm. That's a good point.
Yeah, definitely, definitely that. Uh, I think in terms of, some of the things I try to, instill is, my father, like God was saying, my father was a worker. My mother was more of a nurturer at home. Uh, she just made sure everything was smooth internally within the home, that we had structure. And my father kind of came along, and forced it. I've always believed it was always God, Christ, Christ, man, man, woman, woman, child. Those steps right there kind of puts you in the right perspective where you are in the household. Uh, I think my dad, he was a strong-willed person. He just believed in, it was not giving, giving. It was about, hey, get up, work, towards your goals. He made sure your homework was done on time. My mother made sure we were all at the table on time, ate dinner together. You get up, go to church together. Those things were driven. So, I try to make sure, that my kids kind of understand when they think I'm being harsh on them, it's coming from a good space. I'm coming from a loving space. Still today, we try to vocalize as much as possible uh, when they seem like they don't understand what we're talking about. Because right now we appear to be as looking like a couple of squares, uh, L7s,
Hmm.
But some of the things that dad and mom used to put in us, it's come full circle, and we're sitting here right now. It's sitting right at our table.
Hmm.
And
Hmm.
it's like, wow, dad said, keep on living, and that's true.
Yeah,
Keep
that's
on
very,
living.
very true.
Mm.
Yeah, it's like everything no, everything old is new again. So
Yes.
it does
Yeah.
come back around. It truly, truly does. But I do think that while everything old is new again, there are some differences now that fathers are
Oh
experiencing
yeah.
when it comes to raising their children that
Yeah.
you all never had to encounter.
Yeah.
Just social media alone is a
Mhm.
game changer. And so
Yeah.
and both of you all do work with youth. Willie, you see it every day in the
Mhm.
school when
Mhm.
when you're dealing with these young men that are coming through your halls and young girls that are coming through your hall and their parents. And so I would love to spend a little bit of time just talking about the unique challenges that Black fathers are facing today. I think about like when we grew up, it was all about Martin Luther King. It was
Mhm.
about Malcolm X. We had those individuals. Well,
Yeah.
now our babies have Trayvon Martin.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
have images now that they literally saw on their TV, whereas our experiences were relayed by our parents who lived through
Right.
them. We
Right.
did not live through some of the things that our youth are living through now. And so
Yeah.
I would love to talk about how that's impacting you all as Black men and as fathers and children that you engage with.
Well, that's an excellent point, and I think that you just made is that our parents took the time to tell us about Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement and how it
Mm-hmm.
has pushing us as a people forward. Whereas now social media is almost as and technology is almost the parent, so to speak. And
Mm-hmm.
there's more time spent, or children sometimes spend more time on social media and technology than they are with their actual physical parent. And
Mm-hmm.
so social media and technology ends up kind of driving the car, so to speak. and it really makes it tough, and it's even difficult to see that a lot of times when I have children who may have some issues at school, and we'll bring everyone together and the parent together with the child and discuss and talk about what may be going on in the home and why is these things happening. And there's just a certain uncomfortableness between parent and child that it's not only because they know they may be in trouble or they may have done something wrong, but there's not a comfortableness taking and seizing the moment in terms of making sure that your child understands what's expected of them while they're in school. And it really does make it difficult. It probably contributes to over 60 or 70% of the issues that we have in our school. It's a direct
Mm,
of something going on technology or social media.
And the
mhm,
other
mhm,
part, the kids tend to argue with you about, say, hey, dad, things aren't the same way they used to be. You fight against that dynamics of words that they come out their mouth, but even though social media has put it out there on a platform where it's so more vigilant now, uh, that child is competing against the old versus the new and saying in their mind, like, things aren't the way that they used to be. Uh, I've heard a kid once before say to me, um, we know our worth. I never thought of a statement like that would ever come out when we were kids, but these kids now have so much exposure to understanding what their value is to society. But at the same time, we were very cautious about how we moved, how we navigated, places that we went, places our parents didn't allow us to go. But,
mhm, mhm, mhm,
along with this growth, I want my kids to see the world. I want my kids to put their hands in places that, you know, 40, 50 years ago, we necessarily couldn't put our hands or step inside the room. And
mhm,
this generation is making a lot of great strides, but uh, in collaboration with, being fathers, going
mhm,
into, talking about what can we do differently? What's the outreach to some of these kids on what platforms to let them know that they have a voice. That's the
mhm.
thing. As fathers, like,
Yeah.
how do we come together to talk about what
Mhm.
we do to make sure our boys and our girls got a voice, you know?
Gotcha. Okay. Which makes sense, which makes perfect sense, empowering them to
Right.
not that they have a voice and that they should use their voice as well to be heard. But so that leads us into my next question that I have because, a lot of the narratives that we receive about fathers, about Black fathers in particular, we get from the media. And so I would love for you all to take a few minutes and if there was a media person sitting in front of you and you had a chance to tell them what you thought they should be doing or could do better to highlight positive stories about fathers, and particularly fathers of color, what would you tell them?
Yeah, I would probably tell them to try to make features and have features maybe on a weekly basis or a monthly basis, and just make it impromptu where you actually go to sporting events or go to um, a school where or different events where fathers would be and just ask what their thoughts are about fatherhood and highlight what they're doing. It's
Mm-hmm.
some of these things go on in such a organic way. And I believe as a father, and I'm not sure Chris probably would agree with this as well, we just do what we do. We don't necessarily
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
do it for
Mm-hmm.
Right.
fanfare, but
Yeah.
we just do what we do. And I think you have a lot of fathers who are all across this country who are doing the same things and just never thought about the fact that maybe if they were able to share their story, how they could possibly help. So just any
Mm-hmm.
kind of features like that, I think would be a
Mm-hmm.
start in the right direction.
I think the dynamics of media plays a role in how perception is. Because I think if you were to go internally in everyone's household as fathers and as mothers, uh, they will find out, hey, well, I love my child, I nurture my child. We sit down at the table and do schoolwork together. This is normalcy in terms of us.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it makes us appear as though, we like we're not loving, or that we're not keeping a spotlight in terms of our culture, our family. And that kind of concerns me is that when I see uh, things that me and Willie are involved in, I see guys show up that you never thought, hey, they actually showing up for their kid. They're saying like, hey man, I love mines too. I'm like,
Mhm.
don't mistaken that, we're involved in, our community. We love our kids. You know, why, the media, it's like why we got to hunt the media down to showcase our love for ours. And it's kind of almost like, I don't care, it's like, I'm going to always be there, even a kid
Mhm.
on the street. And I've seen this in Mr. Gupton quite a bit. If he sees an unwarranted situation going on, he's going to reach out. He's going to pull it. If you see a young man in a bad situation, a young lady, he's going to always reach out. It's just in the
Mhm.
nature of both me and him that you want better for your community. And as a father, it hits your core. It hits your core
Mhm.
differently, and you react differently when you got good core values. So, to me,
Mhm.
I think they need to showcase that. It's normalcy for us.
It's just a way of life.
It's the way
Right.
of life.
The way of life. It's
Stop
part of
acting
our
like it's.
connective tissue. It's
Yeah,
part of
this ain't
just
no
how we.
Dateline NBC story like the plight of this or that. No, this is what we do. We do this every
Right.
day. You
Right.
know,
Right. Well,
So
let me ask you something because we're just coming off of the heels of Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're ramping up to Minority Mental Health Awareness Month, which is in July. And so, women, I think I could be biased because I am a woman, but I think women do a better job of supporting each other through the various phases of our lives as women. And so, you see the mommy and me kind of activities, you see girls' night out. I mean, you see things that, activities, and you all hear about them from your wives and partners, like what we're doing to lift each other up. And so, what as a father, can you all do to ensure that you all are lifted up? I think about the Shy, where on the Shy they have the men's group, and these brothers are coming together and they're having real conversations about real issues that are impacting their lives. And every time I see that, I'm like, man, every man needs that kind of core group to come together where they can just keep it 100.
Absolutely.
So as you've been maneuvering through fatherhood, and as you're maneuvering, because your job as a father is never going to end,
Never.
it never ends. And
No.
so how do you take care of your mental health as a father, and then uplift other fathers to make sure that they're okay also, because this fatherhood journey, it's
Yeah,
forever.
yeah, exactly. And so as the older I get, I understand that there's no such thing as failing, right?
Mm-hmm,
You
mm-hmm,
never fail.
mm-hmm,
What you do is learn, right? And then you correct whatever that is and still be prepared to move forward on that. Another thing that's big is just reflecting, right? Because sometimes we don't give ourselves enough time to reflect, to even recognize when we may have been doing something good, because the only thing that we're thinking about is that when that failure that may have happened. And so and
mm-hmm,
I can never say enough I believe in a risen Savior, who I turn to, and who
mm-hmm,
provides so much support and so much love. And on top of that, I also have my fraternity brothers and friends that we do have those kind of conversations
oh, yeah,
and
oh,
very.
good, good.
time uplifting and supporting one another. I think as African American men, I think there's a group of men out here who are really pretty good at it, then some who are not so good at it, and then some, unfortunately, that don't have any type of outlet at all. And those are the
Mm-hmm,
ones that concern me. One of the
Right.
things I do at my school is that if I happen to see an African American father in the building, I would definitely go up and introduce myself to him, tell him how good
mm-hmm,
it makes me feel to see them in my building. And then we have
mm-hmm,
begun to do a Donuts with Dads program, which is sponsored by
mm-hmm,
Omega Psi Phi, Find Me a New Chapter, our fatherhood and mentoring initiative. So we're
Right.
always
mm-hmm,
really trying to be at the forefront of making sure that we celebrating and recognizing fathers.
No,
mm-hmm,
absolutely.
mm-hmm.
Absolutely. I just think, over a period of time, we've we've done some great strides in terms of like FAMU, but and like he said before, there is an element out there that that they don't know how to navigate or have a resource to really touch out to. We just been so fortunate enough to be around a collective body of men and friendships along the way that we, trust one another and we share an abundance of concern in terms of, mental health and also, in terms within our families. So, to me, I just think, I feel, so handicapped when I can't, reach those that don't have that sound base that maybe I have, and try to get them on the other side of the bridge to start, being a better father and navigating towards that way, even though we all have our problems, as fathers. But, some of those core values you can't really strip us from. I'm staying 10 toes down on what I believe in. I think the blueprints worked for me. I believe it worked for Willie. So I think going forward, I try to, pull as many people in that I see might be, a brother that might be struggling, because mental health is real out here. It's just back in the day as Black men, we really didn't,
You didn't
just
talk about it.
oh man, we got
Just
tough skin. We just got tough skin.
right,
I said,
right,
whatever you bring in my way, we kind of looked at it like, come on. Like, come on,
right.
keep
But
on bringing it because, we don't have time to go home and tell, our mates or tell our kids that there was a disappointing day. What you do, you keep moving forward. You get on your knees, you pray about it. You ask Lord to get you out of this tough situation. And then, he'll provide, that's where our faith is that, the Lord will provide. So, that's kind
but
of,
you
go
but you're
ahead.
human. You as fathers are human, and you
Oh, very
deserve
much.
to be human and have human emotions and the support that it takes so that you can, like, as we started this conversation, that we can remember all those successes. That this misstep is just a blip in the radar because you're
Wow.
doing so many other things right. So that's where that support system
Yeah.
really does come into play because you just have to remember that and be reminded of that
You know,
from time
you
to
know,
time.
Denise was kind of funny is that when Mother's Day come up, it's almost like, kids fall all over their mama. You know, Father's Day come up and we might get a black rose, But when it comes up, it's like kids don't understand. We
Yeah,
don't require a whole lot. But if you acknowledge what we have done for you,
yeah.
might not outwardly say it, but we may turn around while we're out there on that barbecue pit cooking for Father's Day. We smiling and grinning, and you might get enough so a tear come down your eye. Like all I wanted you to do was recognize who I was to you. And I didn't mean bring me no flowers, don't bring me no cards, no nothing. For men, just acknowledge that, hey man, Dad, job well done. I appreciate you, man. And to us, we crying on the inside, and y'all just really don't even know
That's sweet. Yes,
it.
because yeah,
Yeah,
Father's Day is a big deal. So
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Well, give us
Um,
our due just.
I guess that was a hint, huh?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah.
so
Balloons.
yeah, yeah, whatever. So anyway, I have two quick questions because we're running out of time, and I'm getting these nudges from the team telling me I've got to move things along. So,
Okay.
a quick question, just really quickly, tell me who do you look at as a parental role model?
My father and then my brother and also some of my
Your
fraternity brothers. Yeah.
father,
Yeah,
brother, paternity brother.
Yeah, I remember
yeah.
when when he first got custody of Brittany and was like a single
Mm.
father. And y'all remember that time well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
Yeah, he talks about that. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
my I was confused. Yeah. But I had a good support group. My dad, my mom, they were there. Now I didn't know what to do. I was young,
Mhm,
wild and free. Didn't know what to do. Now, I don't
mhm,
regret it. But I think, my fraternity brothers, my dad, my brother,
mhm,
excellent fathers. I
mhm.
give it to them. Um,
Yeah.
it's like it doesn't get any
Mhm,
better than that when you see your nieces and nephews and they're the product,
mhm,
what my dad had produced, and it tells a
mhm.
lot. So,
Mhm.
I can't say too much about Harold J. He was a cold
Mhm.
piece. I mean, he's a good guy. He was
So,
stern and fair.
yep, so that's what I've heard. That's what I've heard.
Oh yeah.
So we just have a few minutes left, and I don't want to leave this conversation without giving both of you an opportunity to just offer any final thoughts as
Yeah.
we close this conversation out and words of advice.
I think I heard you allude to it earlier, Denise, where you said fatherhood, talking about fatherhood is not a destination, it's a journey. And that's exactly
Hmm.
what it is. And like you said, there'll be some ups and downs, but hang in there. Also, I think probably a really great message is that it's never, ever, ever too late to develop the relationship that you would like to have with your child. I think so many
Hmm.
times there's so many men who've just thrown up their hands and just given up for one reason or another, but never stop striving to develop the kind of relationship you would like to have with that child. And happy Father's Day to all fathers and father figures.
Yeah, brother
Hmm.
Compton, I have to take my hat off to you on that. Because there's been moments and times that I felt, like you said, throwing in the towel, but you really can't. You really can't. My kids are they can be trying, but I'm not gonna lie to you. When you lay down at night, it does become part of that troubled heart. So you definitely can't, throw in the towel and give up on them because they never gave up on us.
That's right.
So, they're more than likely to have the same deserving rights as anybody else out here. And you got to give that type of gift that you may possibly have and give it to another child that might be in dire straits as well. So, to many fathers out here, I wish them a happy Father's Day and many more to come. But like you said, your journey is not complete. Your journey is not complete.
So, first of all, thank you both so
Yeah.
much for joining me for this conversation. It means the world to me because both of you mean the world to me. I see the bond that you two have as brothers, as fathers, as men, as God fearing men. I see that in you all, and I'm so grateful to have you both in my world. And so, happy Father's Day to you. And it is my hope that this Father's Day and every Father's Day going forward brings you more happiness, peace, and love than your hands and heart can hold. So
Thank,
thank you,
thank
thank
you for
you,
having me.
thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thank you. Bye bye.
So thank you. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode of How They See Us. Don't forget to subscribe to our podcast. We are wherever you find your podcasts. We're available on all streaming platforms. And make sure you watch our official YouTube station where you can see a video of this conversation. And until next time, take care and I'll talk to you soon.